Welcome to the Rise Together podcast weekly hot take series. Every week, we're going to bring you powerful stories and strategies from leaders who are making a real impact by building stronger, more resilient communities. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools to thrive in both your personal and professional life.
Hi, everybody. I'm Beth Almaris. I'm with the Foundation for Family and Community Healing. We're a nonprofit organization that's really dedicated to helping individuals and organizations build strength and resilience through skill-based education. I'm really excited to talk to my guest today. This is Josh Renicker, and Josh is the COO at Energy Access, Inc. Hey, Josh, how are you?
I'm doing well, Beth. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Thanks for joining me. We're excited to hear a little bit about your story, and I know folks will enjoy our conversation. So you ready to get started?
Fire away.
All right. So can you give me a little bit, like your elevator speech for Energy Access?
Sure. So we are a small business manufacturing firm here based in the northwest side of Indianapolis. So we focus on power electronics for battery chargers, power management systems, and battery protection circuits. And we are industry agnostic, so we do medical, military, test and measurement, fire health and safety, robotics, materials handling, drones.
Wow.
We're all over the place, so a little bit of everything.
That's awesome. And how big is the organization?
We're a small business, so I mean, what are we now? We're sub 20 people, but we're small and mighty.
Yeah, well, you're bigger than us, so there you go. So how would you say, I mean, you're in operations, what has been the biggest change you've seen over the years?
I would say, I mean, over the years is a broad statement, right? So I've been in the role for almost 20 years,
right,
leading operations here. And I come from a manufacturing background. So I started kind of on the factory floor running machines when I was 18 years old, straight out of high school. And then just kind of worked my way through and up and found myself in a COO seat not more than 10 years ago. But in the last 10 years, obviously we had the pandemic and how that impacted things. So I would say going back to the origins, it was work was much less human-centric, I would say. And through COVID and through the pandemic, I feel that feeling is a lot more accepted in the workplace today.
Interesting.
So that's where I would go with it, I think. It just feels like it's a lot more based on the human. That's why remote work has taken off, right? Because people want to live their lives kind of in an integrated fashion with their work. They want to work when they want to work instead of kind of answering to somebody else's time clock. So that's an interesting thing to navigate in manufacturing, of course, because we need bodies and hands here to run machines and build things. But that's probably the biggest thing I would say is the pandemic certainly opened up the human-centric side of work.
Yeah, okay. That's really interesting because, as somebody that works in the nonprofit space, we're not at machines and creating things. So it is such a different, like we've always been human-centric, but it's really interesting to hear about all these other industries, learning what that means for them.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point too, right? Because really, I think what we're experiencing is the for-profit world is leaning more toward nonprofit management styles, because most of the nonprofits that are out there, it's passion work, right? People work there because they believe in the mission of the nonprofit, like that's why they're there, and now that's what people want for their work in the for-profit world. So I think that we're seeing an interesting crossover there. So yeah, I think you're right that the nonprofit world certainly has always been probably very human-centric. The for-profit world has not, which is why unions existed, right? And were so prevalent in the late 1800s, going in the 1900s.
Yeah.
Just because people weren't seen as people. They were seen as hands that could build a car or build whatever the machine was.
Yeah, well, we have kind of we're in an interesting snapshot of where maybe it's swinging back the other way again, but that's for another podcast.
It is. We need 45 more minutes for that.
So what would you say is the biggest issue facing the manufacturing industry right now?
It's trying to schedule around people, right? So we're a small business, right? So
Right.
and because of the way we go to market, we are high mix, low volume. So we don't have a lot of automation. So, the larger manufacturers, big manufacturers, are leaning toward Industry 4.0 and lights out manufacturing where everything is automated. You can shut the lights off, go home, and the machines run themselves. But we, in a small manufacturing firm, we're not that way. So we need people. We need people that can use their hands and build things. And finding people that are competent and reliable, especially at the entry level, right? So because there's so much gig work available that really from a revenue or an earning perspective is right in line with entry level manufacturing roles. Do I want to go work in a manufacturing role for 8 hours between these times and my lunch is scheduled, my breaks is scheduled, or do I want to go deliver groceries and I can do that on my own time and I can have my kid with me and I can go do what I want to do? Which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose the one that supports your family better.
Right.
So that's honestly the biggest challenge is trying to maintain a workforce and some sense of scheduling in a manufacturing setting so that you can take advantage of some efficiencies of the same people being in the building at the same time, but also being flexible enough that people want to be here to work.
Yeah.
So it's a tough balance in the manufacturing world, and I mean what it's doing really is driving up the labor rates, right? Because I mean you've got to pay now at a point that the gig work just doesn't match.
Right.
But then you end up, okay, are you now pricing yourself out of competition, right? And especially we're dealing with overseas manufacturing that's a mere fraction of what it costs here in the U.S.
Sure. But does that present an opportunity for companies or organizations to invest in things like company culture and wellness and things like that bring things that aren't necessarily pricing you out salary-wise, but are still seen as a real benefit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's definitely something people are looking for is what else is available, right? Because I mean, yeah, the money piece is great, but honestly, we're seeing people like, can I just have flexibility to go home? Like people are foregoing the stuff that we're offering, and they just want to be like, hey, if I just need a personal day, are you good with me just staying home? So it's interesting that like, especially in a small business setting, because it's like, what do you offer, right? Because I mean, there's so many different things to offer. And I mean, we did training for a while. We had a trainer come in and got everybody up and moving and stretching and all those kind of things. And a few weeks in, people were like, man, I'm good. I'll just go walk on my own. So it's just interesting to see kind of what you can try and what might stick and what should you try, because everybody's looking for something different. So you're almost better off to like offer a supplement of some kind, like, hey, we'll give you a few $100s a month if you want a gym membership, or if you want to go paint vases, whatever it is, to let them kind of go do their own thing. Because the challenge is, if we do something here, it still feels like work because they're doing that activity with people at work.
Oh, interesting. That's
the interesting parallel, right?
Yeah. Have you guys tried any other wellness things there?
Not a lot. I mean, we've had some specific asks and we've supported those things, but we haven't done anything as like a wide brush sweeping thing here. I mean, we do a lot of things that are just getting people together without having work to do.
Yeah.
It's those kind of team building kind of things. But outside of that, I mean, we've had a couple folks come and say, hey, I think I need some help in this area. And, we're happy to help them kind of navigate all of that. But it's on a one-on-one basis. And again, it's probably because we're a small business and We don't see a wide sweeping need for something specific. So we just open it up, and whatever people bring to us, we do.
Yeah. So what would you say? I mean, we've talked about offering flexibility, but within the kind of confines of your business as is, what's kind of your biggest challenge for supporting the people that are working with you?
It's probably the one of the hardest things we deal with is onboarding new employees. And the reason for that is we treat everybody so individualistic that everybody's kind of on their own schedule, and everybody takes breaks on their own time and does their own thing, that people onboarding, like, they're not sure whose schedule is right.
Got it.
Right? So there's like that ambiguity piece. So, I mean, honestly, what it does is it almost acts as a filter for people who fit our culture or not. Because people that come in and own the role and make it their own, and then they're like, hey, this is a schedule I want to work, and this is what's in front of me. Like, those are the people that fit, and those are the people that stick around. But it's the people that are like, I'm not sure where or what, or, then they end up finding themselves lost. And it's like, okay, if you can't come in and own the role, if you need more, it's not even supervision, it's like they need direction. Like, I think they could walk in the right direction, but they stand there like kind of spinning around. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the interesting piece, is that onboarding piece has become so challenging. And again, I mean, maybe I haven't said this, but like, we don't have a retention problem, because once people find their way here, they don't want to go anywhere else, because they can build this, or they can build their role here around who they are and the needs that they have. But a new person coming in, they're like, well, wait, there's only 3 people here in the morning. Like, where's everybody else? And then other people roll in later in the morning, but they don't see that they stay till 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah.
So there's lots of just kind of like, okay, what does on time mean, right? Like, we don't have that defined. It's like, our time is like 9-ish to 5-ish. And based on what works in your schedule, we can work around that.
Yeah.
It reminds me, I'm always reminded of Shawshank Redemption, if you've seen that movie at the end.
Of course.
When Red is working at the grocery store and he's like asking to use the restroom, right? And the manager's like, you don't have to ask me to use the restroom. And Red's like, I can't go unless I ask. Yeah. Like, that's how it feels a lot of times, because like, we don't even have set lunch times or set break times. It's like, you need a break, take a break. If you need lunch, go eat. So, and people are like, I don't know how that works. I'm like, are you hungry? If you're hungry, go eat. That's fine. So I think that's the interesting part. But I'm always reminded of Red standing there like, I can't push a drop or whatever he says unless I ask permission.
Yeah, well, I've had that with teachers that left the classroom, right? And they go to companies, and they're like, oh, you mean I can go to the bathroom?
Right. Yeah. I can get up and just go.
Having to hold it until the kids go to lunch, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's really interesting. Do you have like a dedicated HR person that does that?
We do. So our CFO is part owner, and she takes care of all the HR stuff. And then if we have something that is outside of our comfort zone, then we go out and outsource. We find people that are specialists. I mean, there's so much HR talent out there, and what you find is HR people love to talk about humans and love to help humans. So anytime that we have something that's like, oh, I'm not sure how we handle this piece of it. Yeah. I mean, it takes a couple little messages on LinkedIn, and I'm connected to somebody who knows and can point us in the right direction. So, yeah, we just kind of use the resources that are out there and available, and then we do all the kind of standard stuff internally.
Yeah, that's great. So, what would you say is your, as a business person, what is your next area of growth that you're interested in?
Learning a new language, probably. No, honestly, it's so I've always been a student of leadership, and I want to I've dabbled a bit, but I want to dive in more to building leaders. I want to dive in more to how do I make sure that the people that are reporting to me are getting the appropriate amount of leadership training, because I generally use a kind of a passive approach that's more like modeling and just follow kind of the way I handle things and hopefully pick up on it. So I think that's probably the detailed part that I would dive into, is more intentional leadership training at all levels of the organization.
That's awesome. We love to hear it. So, Josh, for folks that might be interested in following up with you or learning more about your organization, what's the best way for them to find you?
I'm a LinkedIn guy, so reach out to me on LinkedIn. You look up Josh Renicker, JK Renicker. You'll find me on there. I'm super active on LinkedIn. I generally answer DMs unless you're trying to sell me something. But yeah, follow me on there. I'm like I said, I'm pretty active. I usually post four times a week.
Wow.
And I mean, it is me doing the work. It is me writing the stuff. It is me in the DMs. So yeah, feel free to reach out. And if you're local to Indianapolis, let's grab a coffee. So I love meeting new humans. So yeah, let's connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was a great conversation, Josh. And thanks to all our listeners. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us today on our Rise Together podcast weekly hot take series. We hope you've been inspired by today's stories and strategies for building stronger, more resilient communities. Remember, resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about growing through every challenge to become bigger and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who could benefit from these insights. Stay connected, stay resilient, and we'll see you next time.